The revolution's begun. The time to stand up has come. We are the rocking of the throne. We are the rocking of the throne.
My name is Victor Tiffany. I'm the co-founder of Revolt Against Plutocracy, talking today with CFAR candidate for Congress, Tamborine Borrelli. Tamborine, thanks for joining me.
Victor, thank you for having me.
Of course. We're interviewing candidates from around the country who've signed the contract for American Renewal. Why don't you begin by telling people a little bit about yourself and why it is you decided to run for Congress?
Yes, absolutely. So I am part of the demographic that prior to 2016 didn't get involved in politics at all. And for me personally, I never did because I never trusted politicians. I never believed they had the people's best interest at heart. 2016 rolled around, as we all know. Bernie Sanders changed all of that. I threw myself completely in politics and was a national delegate, worked for the campaign, volunteered. And, you know, I decided that if I was not willing to give everything that I have, and in this case, becoming a candidate, to be a public servant that I would have voted for, then I really didn't have any business complaining about it or sitting out during elections. So that's basically my background. I'm running because we have a crisis in this country. Our election system is broken, as we all know, to put it lightly. You know, we have a Congress that's compromised by way of corporatist money pouring in through legalized bribery. And, you know, which is why I signed the CFAR. You know, Victor, it's time that the CFAR contract and other contracts like it are the standard for anyone serving in office. We have to be held accountable for the issues that we campaign on.
Wow, we're going to have to hire you as our spokesperson. And you've already partially answered my next question, which is, why did you sign the CFAR? Go ahead and elaborate, whether it's the issues or the accountability is a great answer, but are there any other reasons that went through your mind before you actually put your pen to the paper and sign that contract?
Sure. Again, because of my history being apathetic, I believe that a contract like this will invigorate and inspire the 50 and upwards % of registered voters and non-registered voters who just don't participate because they don't trust politicians, with good reason. This holds us accountable, where when we say that we want to write or support legislation for Medicare for all, for a peace-driven foreign policy, for expanding Social Security and a debt-free college, when we say those things, if in fact we do not do what we say as it should be, on the 181st day, we will resign if we don't make good on our campaign promises.
That's right, and there aren't many candidates who emphasize that point, so we do appreciate that. You listed two of the 3 or 4 items on that contract that are very expensive for Congress to pass: Medicare for all, free college education. Of course, there's also infrastructure on there, and transforming the energy sector to sustainable energies. You're really a tax and spend liberal, aren't you?
Say again, I'm sorry?
You are a tax and spend liberal. Is that a fair analysis?
You know, I've never been called that before. However, I believe that, listen, any time that we can, without a blink of an eye, spend over $700 billion on an already bloated military budget, I think that it is an insult to anyone's intelligence to think that it is not possible that we can fund Medicare for all. We're already paying twice as much, at least, as other countries that are doing it gladly for their citizens. So I think that we have to stop entertaining the conversation that that's even an issue. It's not an issue in regard to healthcare. It's an economic issue. It's about the CEOs of the pharmaceutical companies, the insurance companies, the medical equipment companies. It's because the only reason why this isn't happening is because of their greed, and that they don't want to let go of the billions of dollars that pour through their coffers, their greed and their insatiable lust to put profit over people has come to an end.
That's great. Now, you mentioned 3 or 4 of the policy positions. You're actually answering my questions before I get around to them. You mentioned 3 or 4 of the policy positions that you would probably be emphasizing both as a candidate and as an elected official. Are there any others that stand out in your mind that, yeah, I'm going to definitely give a lot of attention to this particular policy position? We like to call them litmus tests when you get to Washington.
Yes, and there's quite a few. So rather than take up our limited time, I would encourage those to go to my site, Tamborine, Tamborine 2018.com. And, the platform that I have, those are some of the general issues that are popular amongst us progressives at this time. But I would like to mention a couple that you don't ever really hear about. And they're pet peeves of mine, of our current Congress. For instance, I would make a commitment to sponsor or co-sponsor any legislation that made it impossible for Congress to write a bill, much less an omnibus bill, 2,000-page bill that requires time to read, much less time to absorb, possibly research and comprehend, weigh out pros and cons before voting, to give legislators hours to do this is absolutely insane. I would make it a mandatory per every 100 page that they would need at least 3 days to read 100 pages. If it's 2,000, then you can do the math. We have to talk about common sense reform. That's common sense. We cannot be passing legislation when the legislators don't even know what the hell is even in the bill.
And as a CFAR signer, how do you believe you're going to deploy this contract? You've already done it in this interview. Of course, it's an interview about the contract and you as a contract candidate. But how do you plan on deploying this contract going forward? I'll send out a press release. I'm part of the CFAR movement. Maybe put this thing on your website. Have other people sign it. Because you've signed it, so have voters sign it, or maybe pull it out during the debates. And Tim Canova suggested he was going to stick it out in front of Debbie Wasserman Schultz and tell her to sign it, knowing full well that a neoliberal like herself would never sign that thing. How do you plan on deploying this contract as a political weapon against your adversaries?
Well, Victor, all of what you said are great ideas. We already have it on our site, promoting it. Every time I do an interview now, I am mentioning it. When we knock on doors, we'll lead with that, because that, I believe, is something that I said before will inspire people, to give them a little more than just hope, because we've had hope, but hope has gotten us nowhere and gotten us nothing. We need to have some ironclad, legally binding commitment from candidates and especially incumbents. So I would love to put it in front of Representative Denny Heck, because I know he would never sign anything like that.
And then that leads to my last question for you to present yourself to voters. Why do you think you're the voters of the 10th Congressional District in Washington, why would they vote for you and not Denny Heck, or the Republican that'll be put forward by the party come November? Yes,
I'll say it like this. We have a window of opportunity now, coming off the heels of 2016. When you talk about a political revolution, This is a pregnant time where anything could happen. But what it's going to take is people understanding what we have here. We have to put our money where our mouth is, put our energy where our mouth is. When we say we want a different political system, when we want a different electoral system, when we want different representatives, we have to and can do nothing less but put everything we have behind them. They should vote for me because I represent a new day, a choice for a new direction. Everything that what we have in our political system that is not. That's what I represent, a new day that can actually put the people above corporatist interests and above profit.
Tamborine, thank you for joining me this afternoon. We appreciate your time, and we wish you the best of luck.
Victor, thank you so much for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Revolt Against Plutocracy won't just be covering the news about the necessary revolution in the United States. Sometimes we'll be making the news. If you want to stay on top of the revolutionary actions and strategies of grassroots, genuine progressives, and our allies, please subscribe to our YouTube channel today.